Welcome to Highfalutin Low Carb, the almost weekly web series where we find, test, and sometimes create the best low carb recipes this crazy internet has to offer. Today, we're working on another original recipe, this time for a low carb cola barbecue sauce. Stay tuned. Now, I first need to offer a huge thank you to Zevia Zero Calorie Beverages for partnering with me to bring you this week's video. And Zevia Zero Calorie Beverages are exactly what they say they are. They are 0 calories, 0 carbs, 0 sugars, 0 artificial sweeteners, completely non-GMO verified, and completely sweetened with all natural stevia leaf. So you guys know that my honesty is one of my hallmarks of my channel. There's a reason my motto is low carb, high snark. Zevia beverages were something that I have been drinking long before, years before I had a low carb channel, so it's something I felt completely comfortable recommending. So again, I want to thank Zevia Zero Calorie Beverages for bringing us this week's video. Okay, so cola barbecue sauce. It's not even a southern thing, though we do make it there a lot. I think it's just an everywhere thing because it's kind of good. So we're going to make an all-natural version of this. We are going to saute some garlic and onion. Now, yes, these have some carbs in them, and we have cut these way down. This is only a half a cup of diced onion and 2 cloves of garlic. And this is really essential. You can probably get away with using, a lot of people, when I post some recipes that have like a half cup of onion in it, they say, why didn't you use minced onion? Why didn't you use onion powder? Well, those have just as many carbs. Go check. Go check. There are just as many, not as many, but there are a lot of carbs in minced and powdered onion and garlic. They're taking moisture out. They're not taking carbohydrates out when they, desiccate them and make them into powder and minced products. There's a lot of carbs in there. So for me, I would rather work with a smaller amount of a fresh onion that I know the known quantity of how many carbs are in it and get an opportunity to brown that and do some things traditionally that we would do in a pan with some butter. So that's what we're doing. Take a heavy saucepan here and you're going to add, this is a half a stick of butter. This is a quarter of a cup of butter. And in that goes, and with that, once we get a little bit of melty melt on that, we are going to put in our half cup of onion. We're just going to saute these gently until they are translucent, and a little bit of color is okay. You don't want a lot of color, but that's all we're going to do. So just 4 or 5 minutes. Okay, so we're about to get some color on this onion. I'm going to go ahead and add in 2 cloves of minced garlic into that. And once this goes in, you don't have a lot of time. You don't want this, do not burn the garlic. You've got to start over. It will ruin everything. This does not lead long at all. And so this leads me into what comes next from here. We need to, I'm going to turn this down. We need to add our cola into this. And it's going to take a 12-ounce count of cola. And you've got a couple of choices here to make. Oh gosh, that smells good. You can use, now we're going to use Zevia for this. They have the blue can, which is the one that I fell in love with years ago, was just the regular Zevia Cola. And so you've got that option, but you've also got Dr. Zevia, and I believe you know the doctor that this is impersonating perhaps. But this is the same, this recipe you can do with either Cola or Dr. Cola. So you just choose whichever you want to do. There's not a lot of difference here, but you can taste a slight spiciness, the way that the other doctor tastes versus a regular cola. So let's go with regular cola. And so once your garlic has gotten slightly cooked, don't let it burn. We're just going to pour in. Nice. Just pour in your cola. And from here, our point here is that we are obviously going to be cooking this down a bit over some time. This is going to take about a half hour for all of these ingredients once we add them to eventually become barbecue sauce, right? So we're going to cook this for about a half an hour. And when you're using a regular cola and you're cooking that down, the sugar just concentrates, and you get the flavor and the sugary sweetness of the cola. Well, on a low carb diet, obviously we don't have the luxury of using a sugared soda, so a lot of people will try to make one of these sauces, and there are a lot of recipes for this, for a diet cola barbecue sauce. And while that is certainly possible, what happens is while we're concentrating all of this 12 ounces of liquid down over the next 30 minutes, you're also concentrating down all the artificial sweeteners. And what happens personally for me at the end of all of this, and you're ready to taste your barbecue sauce, my brain zeroes in on that artificial sweetener. I can tell it like a minute. And it just, I'm not interested in it. If I wanted to do that, I would just go buy a bottle of cheap, sugar-free, low-carb barbecue sauce off of the store shelves and deal with whatever artificial sweetener they've added in there. What we need here is to obviously concentrate this down over the next 30 minutes and come out with something that is sweet and tangy and tastes like barbecue sauce and not a bucket full of chemicals. So that's what we're doing. So allow this to come to a boil, and we're going to start adding in our other ingredients shortly, okay? Okay, so our cola has come to a boil. We're obviously this is helping soften the onions, because what we're going to do at the end of all this, we're going to run a stick blender through this, or if you have a regular blender, you can put it in there once it's cooled a bit. You don't want to do it when it's hot, but so we're going to pulverize all this into a thick, rich, unctuous sauce. So to this, we need to add, and this is where it's a convenience food, but it's also an important ingredient. I've got to move out of the smoke here so you can see what I'm talking about. We need unsweetened ketchup. A 13-ounce bottle of unsweetened natural ketchup. And I reviewed some stuff in my ketchup battle video, which I'll link up here. I don't know if you've seen that or not. And this was one of the contestants there. And this came from a health food store. But the important thing of this is it has no sugar and no artificial sweeteners in it. Most of the sugar-free and low-carb ketchups that you're going to see on the store shelves have some sort of artificial sweetener in it, whether it's sucralose or aspartame or sorbitol. They've got something in them. And this brand in particular, there are several brands of organic that you can find in a health food store. And oddly, this was cheaper when you in my ketchup battle. This was cheaper than all the others. So what we're looking for is a 13-ounce bottle jar of unsweetened ketchup, and we're just going to pour this in. And most barbecue sauces, the base of it was just regular old ketchup. That's what you started with. It's just easier. It's got a lot of the spices, a lot of some of the vinegars that you like in a barbecue sauce that are already there. Now, we just need to be whisking and stirring this, and this is going to come down to, we're going to reduce this over the next half hour. And you don't have to sit and deal with it. Once you got all the ingredients in it, you just need to come back and stir it occasionally. Make sure it's not sticking. You want to do this on medium low. You're not trying to, make soup here. We're trying to create some flavors. 3 other important ingredients to this. And I've added them all here already into this one bowl. And this is 2 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce, 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar, and a teaspoon of liquid smoke. These are important ingredients. Now, liquid smoke, look for a natural brand. You're going to see some brands of liquid smoke that A, have sugar in them. No, don't want that. Or B, say natural smoke flavoring, or worse, artificial smoke flavoring. There are some brands that are just simply smoke flavoring. If you don't know how to make smoke flavoring, it is truthfully, like if it's hickory smoke, it is a hickory fire that is in a contained environment, and the smoke is pressurized through water, and then that water is distilled and boiled down into what we know of as liquid smoke. So it is truthfully just the essence of naturally smoked wood. There's nothing artificial about it. It is a real product, and it is an easy way, especially in the winter months when you're not outside cooking, and grilling when it might be a little too chilly, that this allows you to get some smoky flavor in your barbecue sauce. So don't be embarrassed to use it. And it is cheap and affordable. And if you look for the right brand, a natural brand of it that is actually created through distilled smoke water, then you're fine. Okay, so to this, we're going to add a couple of little secret ingredients. One of those is instant espresso powder. Yeah, coffee, right? You could use some liquid coffee. that you've got some low cold leftover coffee, but you've just got more reducing to do. What I keep on hand most of the time is a little packets of instant espresso. Literally for 6 of these, I think it's $1.25 or $1.50 at the grocery store. And I've never made just like, you're supposed to pour this in a teacup and pour, hot water over it and drink it like espresso. It's probably terrible. But what it does do is creates a low level depth of flavor. It's like anchovies or Parmesan cheese or some of those flavors that have umami that allow, it's just an unctuous note that you don't really know about that you're like, wow, that tastes deep. These little packets are great for chocolate baked goods too, like some mug cakes or whatever. Throw a little instant espresso powder in them. Pour this in and incorporate. So now also to this is 1 tablespoon of your chili powder of choice. Choose whatever you have in the pantry, or if you want to go fancy, I like chipotle chili powder more than I like, say, ancho chili powder. They're different animals. One of them is smoked jalapeno, the chipotle is. So I kind of like that, so that's what I use. So a tablespoon of your favorite chili powder, whatever that may be. And lastly is a tablespoon of literally yellow mustard. It's coming out everywhere. Not much. That made a mess. Ooh, don't store that thing upside down. About a tablespoon of literally just yellow hot dog mustard. Your favorite national brand, whatever you want. Just, again, adds another layer of flavor. So all we're going to do here is allow this to cook down for about 30 minutes on medium low. Keep it moving. You ain't got to stand here and stir it the whole time. But, at least approach it every couple of minutes and hit it a lick with the whisk just so you know you're not sticking to the bottom here. So we're going to cook this for 20 to 30 minutes until it reaches a consistency that you like your barbecue sauce to be. And we're going to go from there. Okay, we are back. Now this has only taken me about 15 minutes. I know I told you that this was going to take 30 minutes to cook down, but we're right where we need to be. I've been cooking this on my home stove, and this little induction burner is much hotter than my home stove. And also because I wanted to film the time lapse of this cooking down, I didn't have a lid cocked over it. Which obviously this was much more open and it boiled down quicker. And all frickin' videos to not wear an apron, I was trying to be brave and say, I don't need an apron today. And it was the one thing, a splashy, bubbly barbecue sauce. Gosh almighty, that was stupid. So, and it's got butter in it. Remember, this has fat in it. It's not your typical barbecue sauce. So great, yeah, it's probably gonna look great. So anyway, it is what it is. So here's what we've got to do. Now you've got to taste this just a little bit for salt and pepper. We didn't put salt and pepper in it, and whether you used unsalted butter, all of those things matter, and how much you've boiled it down to the consistency. So it's best to save your salt and pepper for the end. So what I'm going to do is just take a quick taste before we... Ooh, that's good. I am going to put a little salt. Woo! It's spicy, and some pepper. Now, you're going to make this recipe to your specifications. I use chipotle powder, and it is much spicier than regular chili powder. If you don't like it that spicy, and you want the chipotle flavor, use half as much. If this is too tangy for you, use only 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar instead of 2. So you're going to get the hang of this. This is pretty spicy with chipotle. Pretty spicy, pretty tangy, and pretty sweet. So, which is kind of what I look for in a barbecue sauce. When you're tasting this, remember, this is going to be spread out all over some meat. But what we need to do now is figure out the carb count for this. All the ingredients and all of this, using the brand, the particular brand of the unsweetened ketchup that I did, all of this is of just under 38 net carbs, which sounds like a lot. But a serving of barbecue sauce is usually 2 tablespoons, and sometimes, in some brands, is 1 tablespoon. So when you're looking at your nutritional macros, realize it's going to be probably 3 to 5, maybe 4 carbs for a serving size of this, which is pretty average for the low carb stuff that has all the chemical sweeteners in it. This doesn't have any of that. This is completely natural if you find an all natural ketchup to use. So what we're going to do is pour these into some glass measuring cups to get a firm measure on exactly how much liquid this is, and then we're going to divide that and figure out what our per serving macro is. I can leave you with one, and you can say in general, but the true test of this is how much did you cook it down? How thick did you get it? Is it super thick? Is it super runny? Those are going to change your macros, because all of that, regardless of the volume, has 38 net carbs. Can we get it into a cup or 2 cups? That's going to determine the serving size. So here we go. We got 2 cups and a half. So 2.5 cups. Now, how many tablespoons are in 2.5 cups? Let's find out. I don't know that by heart. Alexa, how many tablespoons are in 2.5 cups?
2.5 cups is 40 tablespoons.
Okay, 2.5 cups is 40 tablespoons. If you get 2 tablespoons per serving, then that's 20 servings, right? I need a calculator to figure that out. Okay, so that's 1.9. That's 1.9 grams of net carbs for 2 tablespoons of this sauce. So, truthfully, that's pretty good. Now, guys, I gotta tell you, you can take a, you see this is kind of chunky? Our onions and our garlic. You can take a blend, you can put this in a blender, you can put it in a food processor, you can use an immersion blender. I kind of like it chunky. It makes me know that it's homemade. I don't know, it just feels super authentic and rustic. Now, barbecue sauce is usually not something you eat by the spoon, but we gotta taste it. Whoo! It's spicy, spicy. If you don't like spicy stuff, use a different pepper than chipotle. But y'all, that is freaking amazing barbecue sauce. And I've been making barbecue sauce all week. We're tired of eating barbecue because I've been working on this recipe. But this to me is quintessential sweet and spicy, Southern style, sort of Memphis style, some might say. I don't want to classify it too much because I can get to fisticuffs about arguing about your barbecue sauces. But that is delicious. It is honestly rather keto friendly because it does have fat in it. There were no added sugars at all and no artificial sweeteners. But tomatoes do have some sweetness. So there you go. Cola barbecue sauce. Whether you use a Cola or a Dr. Zevia, these will boil down and reduce with your sauce and not leave behind a bizarre concoction of artificial ingredients. It's completely natural, no artificial colors, flavors, or sweeteners. And it's just something I feel good about eating, period. So rather than go buy something, this didn't cost me much more than a quality low carb barbecue sauce. And this will store in the refrigerator covered. It has enough vinegar in it to keep it pretty safe for, I would say, 2 weeks. You could push it to a month, but I can't verify that. I'm not a food scientist, but there's so much vinegar in that. Vinegar, that's the reason ketchup can sit on the diner or go to a restaurant. Ketchup sits out on the counter. They don't put it in the refrigerator because of the vinegar. So we've got not only the vinegar from the ketchup that we boiled down, we've also added vinegar to it, and we had vinegar in the Worcestershire sauce and the mustard. So it's tangy. That's good. That is delicious. So there you have it. Low carb, Zevia Cola barbecue sauce. Something you can feel good about eating that won't screw up your macros and completely natural. I want to offer a big thank you again to Zevia Zero Calorie Beverages for partnering with me to bring you this week's video. But more importantly, I want to thank you. I appreciate you coming along for the journey. As you know, these videos are a way for me to maintain my low carb way of eating, and looking into the end of this camera every week helps keep me honest. So for that, I thank you. Join us next week As you know, this is basically a half-hour cooking show every week where we pit low-carb recipes against one another and determine a winner, and if we can't find one, we'll make one. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.